සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක් සියලුම දෙනාට. අපි ඉතින් අද තමයි පළවෙනි දවසේ අපේ පොණ්ඩ කමියුනිටි ට්‍රේනින්ග් අපි ස්ටාර්ට් කරලා තියෙන්නේ 2019 ඉඳලා වගේ තමයි අපි පොණ්ඩ කමියුනිටි ට්‍රේනින්ග් පටන් ගත්තේ. ඉතින් පොණ්ඩ කමියුනිටි ට්‍රේනින්ග් හරහා අපි ඩෙවලොපර්ස්ලා DBA සයිට් එක ගැන අපි පොඩි ට්‍රේනින්ග්ස් කරලා තිනවා. හැබැයි මෙච්චර ඕගනයිස් වෙච්ච ට්‍රේනින්ග් එකක් අපි මෙච්චර කාලෙකට කරලා නැහැ. ඇත්තටම මේ මෙතෙන්දී අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වුණේ එක දෙයක් තමයි ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් වලට අපිට මේ එනවා CVs එනවා. නමුත් තියෙන ගැටලුව තමයි ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප්ස් ඇත්තටම ලංකාවේ ගොඩක් අඩු වෙච්ච නිසා අපි තීරණයක් ගත්තා. අපි මේකේ ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් අපි කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක ට්‍රේනින්ග් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් හරහාම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් නොලෙජ් එකක් එන විදිහට තමයි මේක මේ ඩිසයින් වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒකට අපිට මේක ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රියල් එක්ස්පර්ට්ලා සහ මේ ප්‍රකල් සබ්ජෙක්ට් එක්ස්පර්ට්ලා ගොඩක් මෙතනට එනවා ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ට්‍රේනින් එක දෙන්න. ඉතින් මේක ලොකු අවස්ථාවක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට. ඒක මම ඉන්ටර්න්ලට මේක ලිමිට් කරන්නේ නැතුව මේක හැමෝටම සහභාගී වෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙන විදිහට මම මේක ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් කරගන්නවා. හේතුව තමයි මොකද ලංකාවේ ඉන්න ගොඩාක් DBS ලටත් සමහර ලාවලට සමහර ඒරියාස් ගැන නොලෙජ් එක හරි අඩුයි. ඉතින් ඒ ඒරියාස් එකත් අපිට මේකෙන් කවර් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඇත්තටම මේක කමියුනිටි එකට ලොකු දායකත්වයක් කියලා අපි හිතනවා. ඊට අමතරව හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න මේක අපි කරන්නේ අපේ සේල්ස් සැටිස්ෆැක්ෂන් එකට මිසක කිසිම ලාභ අරමුණක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නෙවෙයි. ඔයගොල්ලෝ කවදාක් අපිට මුණ නොගැහෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙම කිසිම බලාපොරොත්තුවක් නැහැ ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගැන අපිට. ඒ කියන්නේ එහෙම බලාපොරොත්තුවක් ඇතිව කරන වැඩක් නෙවෙයි. ඉතින් අද මුල්ම වැඩ සටහන අපි ගෑන් ලොකුමාන්න තමයි කරන්නේ. ගෑන් ලොකුමාන්න කියලා කියන්නේ ලංකාවේ ඉන්න මම ගත්තොත් බෙස්ම රිසෝස් එකක් අපි Oracle site එකේ ඉන්න ගෑන්ට Oracle certified master මම හිතන්නේ Oracle certified master කියලා කියන්නේ මට නම් හිතන්නවත් පුළුවන් එක්සෑම් එකක් නෙවෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකට ලොකු කැපවීමක් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කැපවීම සහ සේරම ඩෙඩිකේෂන් එක කරලා ගෑන් ලොකුමාන්න අද ඉන්නවා OCM මම හිතන්නේ 5ක් විතර තියෙනවා Oracle certified master. ඒ කියන්නේ versions 3ක තියෙනවා Oracle certified master. ඊට අමතරව cloud environment එකේ තියෙනවා. මට මතක නැහැ අනිත් එක ඒ තරමට ගෑන්ට certifications තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඊට අමතරව තව සතුටුදායක ආරංචියක් තියෙනවා. ගිය සතිය ගෑන්ට Oracle Oracle Ace කියන ඒ කියන්නේ Oracle ලට contribute කරන කට්ටියට දෙන මේ මම හිතන්නේ මම ගයන් වැරදි නම් කරෙක්ට් කරන්න ඒක award එකක් කියලා මට නම් හිතෙනවා. හේතුව ඒ කියන්නේ Oracle contributors ලා ඉන්න එක ඒගොල්ලන්ට දෙන මේ එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ වරප්‍රසාදයක් තමයි ගෑන්ට එක හම්බුනේ. ඒක මම හිතන්නේ ලංකාවේ පළවෙනි වතාවට ලංකාවේ කෙනෙක්ට අපිට හම්බුනේ ඒක. ඉතින් ඒකත් අපිට සතුටුදායක ආරංචියක්. ඉතින් මම ගයන්ට බාර දෙනවා මෙතන ඉඳන් වැඩ කටයුත්ත කරගෙන යන්න. ගයන් over to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Asri and everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Gyan.
So, yeah, okay. Yes. All right, so thank you for that lovely introduction. And so in case if you have not seen me before, let me just quickly switch on my video as well. I don't know whether you can see me.
Yes, can clearly see you. Yes.
Okay. Right. So let me just switch this video off for the moment. So today's plan, as Asiri mentioned before, I would probably do these sessions. Not just me. There'll be several other trainers who would be doing these series of lectures as well. So the idea of this exercise is basically to give you a proper understanding, proper education in terms of Oracle database, the development, and so on. Okay, so I just have a small presentation deck with me just to make sure that we follow the guidelines and we cover whatever we want to cover today. So let me quickly share my screen for that. Okay, just a second. So I'm just going to, okay. Asiri, I believe you can see my screen.
Yes, can.
All right, thank you. So so don't feel shy to answer questions. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask, or at least you can type on the chat, and Asri will be able to take a look at that as well. අනිත් එක තමයි මේ මම මේ සිංහලෙන් නැතුව ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන්ම කරන්න හිතුවේ මේකේ purpose එකත් I mean so good to know English as well, right? So ඒක තමයි objective එක. Other thing is that මේ සිංහලෙන් ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න ඕන නම් කිසිම ප්‍රශ්න නැහැ මේ කිසිම මේකක් හිතන්න එපා. Right, so let's try to get things started. So the idea here is to have a series of sessions. So today is day one. And so likewise, we'll have a day two and so on. And we will basically talk about some concepts which might be useful for you, right? So Asiri already introduced myself, so I'm going to quickly go into the sections here. So a bit of a history on the Oracle databases, how it got evolved. So Larry Ellison, along with Bob Miner and Ed Oates, right? So or it's not Oates, but or Arts or something. Right? So they basically formed this software company called Software Laboratories in 1978, where Oracle release one or version one was released. And but that was not really the commercial product. Commercial product was launched in 1979, the year after, and it was version 2.3. Okay, so Larry Ellison actually was working with another firm where he created a project, all right, that would cater to some of the CIA, or if you know the Central Intelligence Agents, right? So they've had a particular project, or Larry Ellison had developed a project, kind of an application or a database kind of a environment for CIA, and then that was the same thing that they developed further, and CIA became their first customer. So I could remember last time in Vegas, uh, they what do you call, they've had an interview with CIA technical teams, and it was a good conversation, and they were talking about how the Oracle had helped them in order to grow their agency, right? So CIA had been their first customer. And then, of course, later on, there had been certain versions released, right? So, starting from version one, as I said, it was not the commercial product, but then from version two onwards, it went up till 8i, 9n, 9i, 10g. So I'll just touch upon these characters that you're seeing here, right? To get the pointer out. Okay, so here 8i and 9i, right? So they are basically why I stands here is basically for to indicate that it is geared up for internet. Certain lightweight options were introduced during this time. And then Oracle talked about grid computing, how a shared set of resources, be it CPUs, be it storage, giving you the expected results that you want. So that was basically through G additions. And then Oracle introduced the cloud computing concepts. So for cloud computing, you get the C here. And now we are in the arena of AI. So AI is, of course, artificial intelligence. So if I give you some examples in 23A version of the database, we have these vector embedding mechanisms where the LLMs for decoding and encoding for vectorization, they're all included within the database itself. So this database can now hold LLMs that are given out of the box as well as you can bring your own LLMs also into the database in a particular format, which we call Onyx format. So just few things about that as well. So And then, so this is the evolvement of Oracle database since 1978. Okay. So still, Oracle is the most popular, most common, or what you call most popular. It is ranked number one, and so it's going on well, right? And hope you might be knowing Larry Ellison became the richest person in the world as well. Anyways, so then if you have heard of PLSQL, what is PLSQL? So PLSQL is now if you know about SQL, so you use any database product and you will have SQL there, right? So it might be adhering to these certain ANSI SQL standards. So the standards are getting evolved by the year. So sometimes you may find ANSI standards getting released. So the idea here is to make it a proper standard, right? So guidelines are given in order to say tell the tools or whatever who's using SQL to use those standards. But then certain vendors they come up with their own SQL, or we call it the extension to the structured query language as well. So, for example, if you take Microsoft, they have their own flavor of SQL, which is called Transact SQL, right? So when you use Transact SQL will only be could only be run on their Microsoft platforms, right? So you cannot use Transact SQL against any other type of a database technology. Similarly, for Oracle also, they introduced something called as procedural extension to structured query language, or PLSQL in short. And the idea here is to use Oracle own flavor, right? So PLSQL can only be run on Oracle platforms, right? So you cannot use PLSQL against a Microsoft database. But if you take the generic SQL, which is commonly available, those SQLs can be run. Now, as an example, if you say select asterisk from a particular a table, so that is just structured common SQL, right? So um, now in Oracle, you have something called as packages, procedures, functions. Those are all user-defined functions, procedures, and packages. Those cannot be created within any other database platform, right? So it is only applicable for Oracle. So some important URLs, right? So the normal Oracle database, sorry, Oracle site or website is oracle.com. And then in case if you want to raise tickets or if you want to search within a knowledge base, then provided that you have a proper account created, then you can even access support.oracle.com where you can just log in and view your, search throughout the knowledge base. That is one. Second, of course, you can raise tickets based on the technology issue that you have, be it on premise, or it could be a problem that is happening on occurring on cloud. So you can use any of those. Tickets can be created there using support.oracle.com. Okay, and then there is this what you call certification program running right now. So that will be over by the end of October. So if you are interested in it, please go into the education site of Oracle. So you can even type education.oracle.com. It will take you to the same URL. And then you can basically get yourself registered, which is a free registration that you can do. And then register for these free certifications. So an important point. So make sure that you make use of it, because otherwise, normally Oracle exam would be about $275. But during this promotion time, now I have actually completed about 7 exams during these 2 months. So if you all are interested, make sure that you get yourself, you have your account created and start doing your exercises, and you start listening to the training, and then of course you can do your exam as well, right? So it's just a quick info that would help you as well. Right. So coming quickly on to the architecture of the Oracle database. So when it comes to Oracle database behaves well in a memory, right? So as we all know, if you have your content in your disk, right, accessibility when compared to memory will be slow, right? If you have all your content in disk, but obviously due to due to the cost of memory, you tend to, because you are talking about huge capacities of data, so you will not really have sufficient space in order to have all these things stored in your memory. And so therefore, Oracle database, if you take database, will have your data files, right, stored inside the disks. But then when somebody wants to access the database, first they have to make a connection, right? So in order to make a connection, obviously from the application front or from the front end, you might be invoking a tool, right? So it could be an application or it could be a tool provided by Oracle, right? So you invoke that. So when you invoke that, that basically is called as a client process, right? So there is a particular process, or we call that as a user process as well, that will be generated from that client end. So in order to communicate, the client process or the user process should reach out to the server where you have your database running, right? There are certain information which the client process will need to know, right? Such as, okay, where the database host reside, what is its IP address or host name if it is resolvable. And then you need to understand what protocol the database server can understand. And then also there is some component by the name of listener. So listener is the first or the entry point for the connection to get established. So listener will also be running on this particular host. The listener will also be running or listening on a particular port number. So we need to know that port number as well. Obviously, you need to know the database name as well, right? Because there could be many databases running in this environment. So knowing all this information will help the client process to first reach out to the listener. Okay. So when it reaches the listener, provided the listener is up and running, right, then listener will first verify whether the sent information like the database name, right, and of course you'll be passing your credentials, and it will verify whether this is a proper connection or proper connection request coming from the user process. So if it is successful, if listeners thinks that it's a right request that is coming in, then what a listener would do is listener would spin, or we call it spawning. So the listener would spawn a component or a process which we call server process. So there are various ways the server processes would get spawned by the listener, but we don't need to know all of those right now. We can go into detail probably in some other sessions, but initially that is how it happens, right? So when the server process gets generated, you can see here the connection between the user process and the server process will get established. So thereafter, the task of the listener is not going to be there. Why? Because the listener's task was to spin up the server process and connect the two processes, that is the user process and the server process. Now, server is not going to be inside the memory of the database, but it will be associating the database memory. Now, this database memory is what you call an instance, right? So this instance, why the instance is there, as I was telling before, in order to have fast access, right? The data that you fetch from your database files, right, can be kept in the memory as cache. So in that case, if the user wants some data, if data is readily available in this cache, it is going to be very fast in order to access and have the results sent back to the client process. Okay, but obviously you cannot keep everything inside memory. As and when required, the server process might reach out to the database and fetch data on behalf of the user process. All right. So we will learn more about this. But or if the same data piece, right, set of records are required by many user processes at the same time, not all the server processes are allowed to access the data file and retrieve data point for all the users, right? So it will be only given to a single server process. So that server process will fetch the data and will be retrieved back to the instance, which is the cache. And then, of course, the rest of the server processes can consume those data and send it back to their corresponding applications. Okay, so that is how basically the Oracle database work. Okay, now, okay, so there are various other components that inside this instance, right? There are other components in terms of physical files as well, but we are not going to touch upon those things today because this is just an introductory session that we are going to discuss today. Okay. Okay, so some important facts about the database editions. Now, database editions, and there is something called as database options and features as well. So we need to really figure out what these things mean. Okay. Now, first of all, it's easy to recognize the database editions. So you can see here we have Express Edition, right? We have the Express Edition. We have Standard Edition 2. So you might be wondering why we have Standard Edition 2 but not 1. So earlier they had the Standard Edition 1 and then it got modified to become a Standard Edition 2. So Standard Edition 2 is kind of competing with the SQL Server Standard Edition, right? So and that has competing properties here. And then we have the personal edition and enterprise edition. So I'll just quickly run through this as well. So express edition is something free of charge, right? It's the entire set of features and what we call the options are all available. Somewhat similar to the enterprise edition, which has the full set of options and features, but just that you have some limitations in the number of resources. For example, the total capacity or GB that you can use for data is just 12 GB, okay? And 2 GB RAM and then 2 CPU threads. So that is the maximum allowed. But Express Edition can be even used for production. There's no problem and at no cost at all, right? Just that you need to understand the limitations that it has, okay? Right. Now, you can see the inclusions here like multi-tenant, in-memory, partitioning, advanced analytics, right? So out of these, things like multi-tenant, in-memory, partitioning, advanced security, they're all coming under database options. Okay, so you can see here at the bottom, there is a set of database options listed. Now, what exactly is an option? As the name implies, it is not compulsory for you to use these options. It is given optionally. But these are given optionally only for the enterprise edition. So that is why we call it enterprise edition options. Okay. But the moment you want to use them, always remember options are coming at a cost. So if you want multi-tenant, or if you want real application clusters, or real application cluster one node, active data guard, partitioning, real application testing or advanced compression, advanced security, label security, and so on. And then you have database vault, times and DB cache, and in memory or DB in memory as well. So these are all options. So if they are options, the options are only coming with enterprise edition. Okay. Like it is only coming with enterprise edition. There's an exception. Express edition is also going to work like enterprise, but just that it has a hard limit, right? So this is only for personal use. I mean, personal use in the sense like you can use it for production as well at no cost, but of course these are very small numbers, so you won't be able to run a massive scale operation with Express edition. But apart from that, these are all coming only for enterprise edition. So when I say enterprise edition, right? So the standard edition, if you take, will not have any of these DB enterprise edition options, right? Standard edition will not have that. For standard edition, you have standard edition high availability feature. This is actually a feature because it is not a part of options, right? So features, if you take, they are all given free of charge, right? Now, as an example, I have mentioned here no bitmap index support. Now, you might have sometimes heard of different types of indexes that a database can have. So most common one is what we call uh, um, a B-tree index, right? So B-tree index is there for all the databases. But if you take bitmap indexes, so bitmap indexes are not supported in standard edition, but it is there in your enterprise edition. So within enterprise edition, it becomes a feature, right? Because it's not an option. You don't need to pay for that. But these are all features, right? Another example is you have some in enterprise edition, you have something called as data guard. So data guard ensures that you have a backup or a copy of your production database running elsewhere. In case of a problem, in case of a failure of your production, you'll be able to simply fail over or to switch over to the standby database and run without any data loss. Okay, so that is the feature, or this is the service what we call data guard. So data guard is actually a feature. It's not an option, right? You don't see it as an option here, right? And that is given free of charge. So all the features that you see, they are given free of charge. You don't need to pay for those, but only for enterprise edition database options, you need to pay and purchase. So you can pick and choose. And if there's any particular reason for you to use the option, you can use it, provided that you are on enterprise edition. Okay, right. And then you can see here for personal edition, for personal use also there is some fee, edition available, which we call uh, enterprise, sorry, personal edition rather. So for personal editions, there are some options not available, right? Rack, real application clusters not available. And it also doesn't have something called as management packs. So I'll come to management packs a little later, but just make a note of this. You can see that the personal edition can only run on Windows and Linux. But if you take Express, Standard Edition, or even Enterprise Edition, all these all these editions are portable on any other platform, right? It can be Linux, Windows, AIX, or Solaris. So all these commonly used what do you call operating systems, you can host these editions except for personal edition, which is only supported on Windows and Linux, right? So there are no limitations here, but just that you have a single user access when it comes to personal edition. So this is coming at a cost. It's not as free as Express Edition because it doesn't have limits in terms of resources. Just that you have to use either Linux or Windows for this. At the same time, you need to at the same time you need to it will only give you a single user access for that. Okay. So based on your requirement, based on your need, you can pick and choose the most relevant edition for you. So standard edition will lack all these enterprise edition options, right? So if your database is a very small scale database, which may not really require, security features such as, let's say, transparent application, transparent data encryption, right? So if you don't want such features, maybe such options, then you'll be able to use standard edition. So all depends on your requirement. Okay, right. And then we also have what you call the database management packs, right? So again, you can see that they are coming along with Enterprise Edition. So Enterprise Edition management packs, you can see there is diagnostic pack, there's tuning pack, database lifecycle management, data masking and subsetting, and cloud management. So these are all coming again as part of a separate set of packages. Now, these packages are combined with not directly with the database, but it gets configured with the monitoring tool that we have. So the monitoring tool, I mean, you may have one database, you may have many databases running in your environment. So in order to manage them, we use something called as Enterprise Manager, right? So we call it in short EM. Right? So Enterprise Manager can also take different forms, but let's not go into detail about it. But Enterprise Manager. So if you have Enterprise Manager, you can have your diagnostic pack configured there or tuning pack. So diagnostic pack is there in order for you to monitor their database and then figure out what problems that they have, right? So it will help, or this diagnostic pack configured within what you call Enterprise Manager will be helpful in order to diagnose certain problems easily. Same time, when you want to do tuning, you can use the interface, Enterprise Manager interface, in order to identify resource consuming SQLs and see what tuning actions that we can take against them in order to minimize the impact on the database performance, right? So likewise, DB lifecycle management for patching, provisioning, governance, and so on. So you might be knowing about data masking, right? So you can do, again, Enterprise Manager would be the interface for that. Okay. So once you have your management packs obtained, so and then you'll be able to use with the support of Enterprise Manager. So Enterprise Manager would be the supporting tool in order to uh, you know in order to use these management packs, and they are again coming under Enterprise Edition, right? So for example, diagnostic tuning, they are not available for standard edition at all because they are not. It's not Enterprise Edition. So likewise, there are limitations for standard edition. So I will continue to talk, but if there's any question that you have, feel free to
And
ask. Yeah.
small interruption because you know that we have a not licensed version of this presentation tool. So we have we might disconnected from this session, but you can continue. You can reconnect throughout the same session. No worries. Within 5 minutes, we are expecting your connections. So it will break within another 10 minutes of time.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So feel free to join back in case if this gets disconnected. But it's the same link as Siri mentioned because we're using a free a Zoom session, right? So, okay, so let me just brief you on proactive maintenance. So, proactive maintenance is basically the objective is, right? If Oracle can find out bugs before it actually hits our databases, it is better to fix them. So, in order to fix those issues, right, Oracle has introduced two main types of patching mechanisms. One we call the release updates or RUs, right? Then we also have something recently introduced, not very recent, but slightly recent, right? I would say, and they are called monthly recurring patches. So let's try to understand the difference between the two. If you take release updates are actually getting released by Oracle in every quarter, starting from January, then to April, July, and October. So we are expecting the next release update to be released soon, probably next month. Okay. Now, a release update will carry four important changes, right? Obviously, the security fixes, right? That it had Oracle had found, and then the bug fixes, right? And then optimizer is like performance related, changes and also functional fixes. So functional fixes means it could also introduce some new enhancements as well. So those are the four components that will be part of the release update, right? It's an important update that gets released every quarter. And if you want, right, you can go for the latest RU and apply that to your database, right? At the same time, now since it gets about 3 months to release the next release update, right? Oracle has issued or given what we call a monthly recurring patch, which basically gets released every month as the name implies, right? So for MRPs, right? So here you can see I have given a version number also, right? 19.7. So 19 is our Oracle 19 version. Dot 7 is the release update that you see. And then from that time onwards only, Oracle introduced this concept of monthly recurring patches. So it's a kind of an interim patch between two different release update dates. Okay. So it will carry what we call the recommended patches by Oracle. So it could be a collection of security patches, collection of bug fixes, which are very important to be applied very soon, right? Rather than waiting for one quarter, right? So if the customer is interested in applying those, they can opt for MRPs as well. But as you can see here, MRPs are only available for Linux platforms, right? 64-bit platforms only. But it is actually, as I said before, it will be a collection of some patches, right? But then if you can wait for the next release update, obviously, the next release update will carry those changes that had got released in MRPs as well, right? And these patches, the release updates are all cumulative, which means if you do not apply the January patch, but you opt for the April patch will carry the changes that you had in January patch as well. So you don't need to apply one at a time. But if you skip all these three and apply the October patch, that will carry patches pertaining to January, April, and July as well. So it's a cumulative patch. Okay. Right. Let's go to the next one. So next one basically talks about the Oracle database services on cloud. So when you go to public cloud or Oracle cloud infrastructure, right? Oracle has given different forms of database services, right? Now, which we call PaaS services or platform as a service. So for platform as a service, Oracle's generic database service is what we call Oracle-based database service. So for Oracle-based database service, there are certain flavors. One is a standard edition, the same standard edition that we found earlier. And it also has enterprise edition, right? So in enterprise edition, the diagnostic pack, the tuning pack, masking, subsetting, and real application testing, these are all management packs which I spoke about early, will come bundled in, right? You don't need to purchase these management packs separately in the flavor of enterprise edition on cloud, right? It's slightly different from the on-prem setup where you have to separately purchase them. But this license or the subscription will include diagnostic tuning, masking, subsetting, as well as real application testing if you go with enterprise edition in cloud. Okay. Similarly, if you have another tier called high performance. Enterprise edition high performance will carry all these what you mentioned, what we discussed here, and plus some important, if you can recall, these are the options, right? Enterprise edition options will be there along with the previous or along with the enterprise edition masking packs. Okay, again, these are coming free of charge, meaning they are getting absorbed into the subscription cost. But however, you don't need to separately purchase them. But then one could argue, okay, if I don't want, let's say, multi-tenant, can I just skip multi-tenant and get my cost reduced? No, you can't. If you are going with the high performance, or if you feel that one of these components are needed in your cloud setup, then you have to obviously go with high performance. You can't mix and match, and you can't just remove components and then get a lesser price. It's not like that. These are just fixed components that you have within each of these tiers of flavors. We also have something called as extreme performance. In extreme performance, you will, in addition to all these things, you will have the in-memory. This is called active data guard, slightly different from the conventional feature data guard. And also we have real application clusters as well. Okay, so if somebody wants to have a clustering solution, then they should be opting for extreme performance, enterprise edition, extreme performance shape or tier under base database services. So that's how you pick and choose whatever the most appropriate cloud component for you. So currently they support Oracle support version 19C, 21C, and 23AI. But out of these two, right? Please make a note that this 21C is what we call an innovative version or innovative release, right? So, earlier, I couldn't really explain you one thing here.
We can.
And if it is, even if it is only related to your, but then you have extended support also for another 3 years. So altogether, 7 years of support is there for long-term releases. Whereas in 21C, it ends along with the premier support. So there is no extended support here.
Okay, it seems you are breaking.
C was released.
And
And
Glenn, sometimes you are breaking there.
oh,
Yeah,
is it so?
yeah.
Is it clear now?
Yeah, now it's clear. Time to time it's happened.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I'll try to do it a bit slow. And if there's anything, just please let me know. So I was saying that 23 AI was released in 2023. So that's why this number is there. So 23 AI will probably or theoretically will run for another 7 years, which is 2030, right? So 2030 until 2030, you would be able to get even after Premier support, extended support should be there till 2030. Okay, so that's the idea. So apart from that, you will have Oracle Exadata services as well on cloud, right? So we will talk about Exadata, but it's a plug and play kind of a environment, appliance, which is very fast. The most fastest database machines that we have for Oracle. And you have them on premise as well. But then this service is actually on cloud. So you can have shared Excel data services or dedicated services on cloud, where if it is dedicated, that means the Excel data box is actually yours. So it will be only your workloads that will be running on that Excel data box. Then we also have something called as Exadata Cloud at Customer. So where instead of running your Exadata in public cloud, you can bring your Exadata Cloud at Customer, your cloud services to your on-premise premises. So we have one customer bank, which currently is using, started using Cloud at Customer. So you will have the cloud look and feel, just that the box is on their data center or in their data center, not on public cloud. Okay. Now there are some additions to the Oracle database services. One is Oracle database at Azure. So we actually spoke about this particular solution with a Singapore customer today as well. Azure and GCP. So previously they had something called as, now as an example, they had Oracle. It was called Interconnect, right? Interconnect. With Azure, where applications, a use case would be applications might be running on Azure, but you want to connect your Oracle database running on OCI, right? So if it is cross-cloud, we need to understand that there will be a certain significant portion of latency involved. So sometimes applications response time may not be good, right? So it's good if we can bring the two clouds together. So there is a backbone connectivity between Azure and Oracle OCI, where you could have your applications running on Azure and connect through the interconnect to the Oracle database running on OCI. So two different cloud providers, but behind the scene, they're all connected properly, and they could even, actually achieve up to a maximum in the sense it could do 2 millisecond latency, right? So within 2 millisecond latency, the application could retrieve data from databases. So that was there before, but this time, what Oracle has done is Oracle has brought the Exadata boxes to Azure data centers. Now that you don't need to really go across cloud as well, right? So you have, if you ask, when it is available, let's say a region having Azure that has Oracle infrastructure as well, then these Azure applications can connect to the Exadata services within the same data center. So it is much faster, and you get very convenient interfaces where from Azure itself or maybe from GCP, Google Cloud itself, you can manage your whole databases instead of going into a separate Oracle cloud, a separate console. So these are all new, upcoming. It is coming for AWS as well. It was announced before, but then still on the way, I think. So hopefully we'd see this kind of a setup for AWS as well. And then autonomous database, as the name implies, is a database that has self-driven capabilities. So be it database backup, recoveries, right? I mean, any fault tolerance, everything happens, but it will be done by itself, right? So we don't need to, once it is deployed properly, then we don't need to really do maintenance. We don't need to do performance tuning because it gets adjusted by itself. Okay, so this is Oracle's most popular, uh, a database, which we call autonomous database, right? So we will have discussions on these specific areas sometime later on. Okay. Okay, then we come to database storage. Okay, so when it comes to database storage, you can use some software in order to configure your databases, right? One is called the Logical Volume Manager, or LVM. Maybe those who have done OS management would be knowing about LVM, Logical Volume Managers. So through Logical Volume Managers, you can easily, or you can at a rapid pace, you can have your database files created, right? But then you will have some overhead. It could be file system cache overhead, right? That will probably impact the performance, but then deployment is very fast. So in your cloud environment, you have a choice of either opting for logical volume manager or the Oracle's preferred approach, which we call automatic storage manager. Right? So in Oracle, sorry, ASM or automatic storage manager, it basically bypasses any what do you call OS related cache or file system cache, and it will allow a direct I/O against the disks that you have provided. Right? We call them as disk groups. So these groups will be created through a ASM interface on raw devices, right? So you get the raw device performance using ASM. That is why Oracle recommend ASM to be on production environments, right? But that doesn't mean that it is a compulsory, thing to use ASM for production. But this is the trend, and this is what Oracle suggests and recommend as well. And on cloud, uh, you can change your let's say the bandwidth of storage, or you can change the IOPS that are occurring on your storage by changing what we call the performance units, right? In performance units, by changing them, you'd be able to achieve let's say as an example, IOPS levels, right? So balance is basically the one that is recommended mainly for applications. But then if you are hosting any database, you can probably have your performance levels increased by using high performance units. Right? So that way you'd be able to get a high bandwidth and high throughput as well. Okay, so that's the whole objective of changing, setting your storage. So questions, people, anybody having any question?
මම හිතන්නේ ක්වෙස්චන් අහනකොට ඔයගලන්ට සිංහලෙන් අහන්න පුළුවන් කිසි ගැටලුවක් නැහැ.
Oh,
ඒක
yeah.
ඇත්තට කන්ටෙන්ට් එකයි ඔයගලන්ට මේ ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ මේව එකකින්.
Oh,
කිසි වෙලාවක ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්න බැරි මම හිතන්නේ මේක මේ සම්පූර්ණම ට්‍රේනින් එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙලත් ඇති සමහර වෙලාවට. නමුත් බය වෙන්න එපා. මේකේ ඉන්ට්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකේදී දැන් ඔයගලන්ට කියන දේවල් ඔයගලන්ට පැහැදිලි වෙන්නේ කෝස් එක කරගෙන යනකොට. දැන් මේ ASM කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? ඊට පස්සේ මං හිතන්නේ මෙතන කාගෙන් හරි ඇහුවොත් මේ ASM කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියන එක කියලා අඩක උත්තර දෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ කියලා. හැබැයි කාටට ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවනේ ඒක ගැන අහන්න. හැබැයි අපි ඉස්සරහට ASM කියන එක ඉන් ඩීටේල් කරනවා. මේ මෙතනදි කරන්නේ ඕවර්විව් එකක් වගේ එකක් කරන්නේ. මම හරි නෑ ගෑන් මං කියන එක.
oh. දැන් අපි මේ ආශ්‍රය දැන් මේ අපි පස්සේ අපි කට්ටියට නිකන් ඉන්ට්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකක් දීලා තමයි මේක පටන් ගන්න හිතුවේ. ඉතින් so yeah, so you're right. එතකොට ASM ගැන වෙනම සෙක්ෂන් එකක් පස්සේ කරනවා. ASM අපිට දවසක් වුණත් කරන්න පුළුවන්. So එහෙම එකපාරට ඔලුවට යන්නේ නැහැ. But මේ පොඩි අපිට ඔයගලන්ට දෙන්න හිතුවේ අපි ඉන්ට්‍රොඩක්ෂන් එකක් to get to know what is there in Oracle කියන එක. Okay. මෙච්චරයි අද තියෙන්නේ.
හරි. නෑ
දැන්
මේ අපිවත් ප්‍රශ්න ටිකක් අහමු මම හිතන්නේ ගයන් ජයසුන්දරත් ඉන්නවා.
ඔරකල් කට්ටියත් ඉන්නවා ඒ හින්දා
ගයන් ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද? අපි ඉතින් හැම වෙලාවෙම ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ ගයන්ගෙන්. ගයන් කියන්නේ ගයන් ජයසුන්දර සහ ගයන් ලොකුමාන්න මෙතන ඉන්නවා. ගයන් ජයසුන්දර කියලා කියන්නේ අපි ඒත් ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රියල් එක්ස්පර්ට් කෙනෙක්. ගයන්
නෑ ප්‍රශ්න නෑ රිෆ්‍රෙෂ් කරගත්තා ලොකුගේ.
ඒක තමයි ගොඩක් දේවල් අමතක කරලා තිබිච්ච දේවල් ආයෙ අනුට ආව ගන්න. ඒකක් කියන්න බෑ මොකද සමහර ඒවා ටච් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපිට උනත් දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝට හිතයි මේ ටය ස්ටැක් එකම අපිට රියල් වර්ල්ඩ් සිනාරියෝ එකේදී ඔය කම්පොනන්ට්ස් තමයි අපිට ටච් වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් දැන් ගෑන්ට නම් ඕක ඉතින් මාස්ටර් කෙනෙක් නේ ඉතින් ඒ නිසා ඔක ඔළුවේම තියෙනවා. ඔයගේ කට්ටියට එහෙම නැහැ. මේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ බය වෙන්න එපා. මේ ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රියට එන කට්ටියට ඔය සීරෝම දැනගෙන එන කට්ටිය නෙවෙයි. ඒ නිසා මේ ඒක ගැන බය වීමක් බයන්නම ඒ වුණාට ඔයගලන්ට තියෙනවා නම් මොකක් කර ප්‍රශ්නයක් ගන්න. ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එකට එනකොට නිකන් හිතන්නකෝ ගෑන් මෙහෙම දෙයක් කියමුකෝ අපි කියමුකෝ DBA ජොබ් එක ගැන. දැන් ඒක ගැනත් පොඩි මේවා තියෙනවානේ. බය හිතෙනවා DBA කියන එක ප්‍රොෆෙෂනල් එකක් විදිහට ඉස්සරහට කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක. ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් පැහැදිලි කරොත් ගන්න.
සෝ පළවෙනිම එක තමයි මේ ඒකට උත්තරයක් දුන්නොත් මේ දැන් මේ ආසිරි මේ සරින් සරේ මම මාස්ටර් කියලා කිව්වට මම මේ ඉතින් 100%ක් මම ඩේටාබේස් එක ගැන දන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඒ දැන් මම ඉතින් මං හිතන්නේ අවුරුදු 20ක් 25ක් නැතුව ඇති. ඊට වඩා චුට්ටක් අඩු ඇති. බට් මම ඉතින් ඒ කාලේ ඉඳන්ම ඔරකල් එක කරේ. එතකොට එච්චර කළත් මට දැන් මේ ඒත් මට 100% මේක කවර් කරගන්න බෑ. සෝ එහෙම ගත්තම මම කියන්න try කරේ ඕන තරම් දිනෝ එක්ස්ප්ලෝර් කරන්න. right එතකොට මේ අලුත් version එකක් එනකොට මේ version එකට මේ තියෙන දේවල් එනවා සෑහෙන අපිට එක්ස්ප්ලෝර් කරන්න අපිට ස්ටඩි කරන්න දේවල්. ඒ නිසා ඒක කවදාවත් ඉවරයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ පළවෙනි එක. දෙවෙනි එක තමයි දැන් මම හිතන්නේ ජේත් ඒකට උත්තර දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් හොඳයි. 3 AI එහෙම නැත්නම් AI පැත්ත ගත්තම මේ AI එකට ආපු ඔය concept එක අර converged database කියන concept එක. දැන් AI කොහොමද මේකට embed වෙන විදිය. So then මොනවාද ඕකේ දැන් ඕකේ තව තියෙනවා සන ෆීචර්ස් ටිකක් දැන් අපි පස්සට පුළුවන් නම් කතා කරමු. දැන් එක්සැම්පල් එකක් වුණොත් දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් එන්වයරන්මන්ට් එකක ඉන්නවා නම් JSON දැන් රිලේෂන් JSON ඩුවැලිටි කියන concept එකේ අපිට පුළුවන් කරන්න මේ දැන් කෙනෙක් JSON දන්නේ නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කෙනෙක් JSON ඕන වෙන්න පුළුවන්. සමහර කට්ටිය database level එක relational tables විදිහට තමයි data access කරන්නේ. ඒකට එයා නිකන් select එකක් දාලා table access කරනවා. but ඒ වගේම JSON දන්න කට්ටිය යා developers ලා ගොඩක් JSON වලට කැමති. මොකද ඒක ලේසි නිසා. right හැබැයි JSON documents ගත්තම JSON documents වල integrity maintain කරන්න බෑ. primary key එකක් maintain කරන්න බෑ. foreign key relationship එකක් maintain කරන්න බෑ. but නිකන් document stack එක තියෙනවා. right ඒතර මේ 23 AI එකට පුළුවන් ඒ දෙකම use කරලා SQL දන්න එක්කෙනාට SQL වලින් query කරන්න JSON දන්න එක්කෙනාට JSON වලින් query කරන්න table එකක් ඇතුලේ තියෙන data. right so ඒක තමයි JSON relation duality. so නිකන් අපි query එකක් දාලා data ගන්න ඒක document එකෙන් data එන්නේ. sorry මේ table එකකින් data එන්නේ. හැබැයි දැන් JSON ඕන එක්කෙනාට JSON query එකක් දීලා JSON data retrieve කරන විදිහට ගත්තොත් ඒවත් ඇත්තටම table underlying relation table එකේ තමයි data එන්නේ. ඒතකොට එතන තියෙන advantage එක තමයි table එකක data store වෙලා තියෙනවා. table එක කියන්නේ relation tables ගත්තම relation table එකකට අපිට පුළුවන් primary key enforcement එකක් කරන්න. foreign key එකක් enforce කරන්න. අන්නේ constraints උත් එක්ක තමයි දැන් මේ data store වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට අර JSON native JSON වල තියෙන ඒ limitations ඔක්කොම avoid වෙනවා. but ඔයාට still ඔයා කැමති JSON නම් JSON විදිහටම data retrieve කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒ tables වලින්. මම නිකන් එක example එකක් දුන්නේ එක්ස්ප්ලෝර් කරන්න තියෙන දේවල් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. ඒකින්ද ඒක මේ DBA කියන එක ඇත්තටම ඊට වඩා වැඩිපුර හිතන්න ඕන දැන් මේ environments වල. මොකද මේ ඒ කියන්නේ හිතන්න capability එක දීලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් database එකේ තියෙනවා ඕන තරම් දේවල් කරන්න. ජේ ආට මුකුත් ඇඩ් කරන්න තියෙනවද ඒකට?
නෑ ගන්න කිව්වා වගේ තව ඉවලූෂන් එක කතා කරා මම අහගෙන හිටියා මේ 8i 9i 10g 11g ඊට පස්සේ අපි වෙනස් වෙනවා 12C 19C and now මේ 23AI අපි අර කියන්නේ අපි මේවා කතා කරමු gradually 23AI තමයි දැන් අපේ latest production release එක. AI කියන්නේ මොනවාද මම මේ ලොකු මතක් කරා vector embeddings තියනවා කියන එක මේවා දේවල් කතා කරමු. මොකද කියන්නේ මොන රෝල් එක ගත්තත් කෝ එක වෙන්නේ database එක මට හැඟෙන විදිහට. මොකද data මොන කියන්නේ application එකක් දිව්වත් අපි develop කරත් ඒ develop කරන application එකට ඕන කරන data reside වෙන්නේ database එක. එතකොට ඒ data ටික manage කරන එක, ඒක secure කරන එක, ඒක ඕනම organization එකක responsible person කවුරු හරි person කෙනෙක් ඉන්න ඕන ඒ data ටික manage කරන්න. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ නැහැ DBA කියන role එක නැති වෙයි කියන එක. හැබැයි DBA කියන role එකත් evolve වෙනවා. ඒ evolve වෙන areas තියෙනවා. අලුත් දේවල් තියෙනවා. අලුත් opportunities තියෙනවා. ඔයගලන්ට මේ explore කරන්න. ඉතින් අර කවදාවත් අපිට ඉගෙනගෙන ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන් area එකක් නෙමෙයි මේක. කවදාවත් يعني ලොකු කිව්වා වගේ 100%ක් අපිට කියන්නේ මම දැන් DBA කියන රෝල් එක දන්නවා මේ Oracle කියන database එක ගන්න දන්නවා කියලා අපි කාටවත් කියන්න බෑ. මොකද හැමදාම අලුත් දෙයක් මේකට මේ include වෙනවා database එක පැත්තේ. ඉතින් ඉස්සරහට කතා කරමු. අපි මේ මොකද මේක තාම පටන් ගන්න විතරයි. මේ areas ටික අද ලොකු interaction එකක් දුන්නා. ඒ areas one by one අපි ඉස්සරහට යයි. එනකොට ඉතින් අපි කතා කරමු ඒ areas වල මේ key topics, key areas and මේ මොනවාද මේ අලුත් functionalities or මේ අලුත් areas මොනවාද කියන එක.
ඔක ඇත්තරම මේ DBA job එක කියලා කියන එක මම දන්නේ නැහැ. ගොඩක් කට්ටිය කියනවානේ no more DBS කියලා කියනවා සමහර කාලවලදී. හැබැයි කවදාවත් මේ මොකද DBA කියන job එකත් hidden job එකක්. දැන් ඕගොල්ලන්ට සමහරලාට ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඉගෙන ගන්න කාලේ කවුරුවක්වත් දැනගෙන ඉඳන්නේ නැතුව ඇති database administration කියලා job එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ database administration කියලා මම හිතන්නේ කැම්පස් එකකවත් මම හිතන්නේ උගන්වනවා ඇති කියලා මෙහෙම දෙකක් තියෙනවා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ database වලට ඉගෙන ගන්න කියලා උගන්වන්නේ නැහැ කවුරුවක්වත්. හැබැයි මේක job එකක් තියෙනවා. කියන්නේ job එකක් නෙමෙයි මේක profession එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට profession එකට ඉන්න කට්ටිය අඩු නිසා තමයි අපි මේ පුරුදු කරන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ව. මේ අඩුකමම නිසාම මෙතන salary එකත් ගොඩක් වෙලාවලට වැඩි. ඒක කියන්නේ ඔයාට ගිහිලා ඔයාට satisfaction එක නැති වෙන්න salary එකක් හම්බුනායි කියලා මම එතනදි කියන්නේ නැහැ. ඕන තරම් jobs තියෙනවා ඕන තැනක. ඉතින් හොයාගෙන යන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් මේක හොඳ satisfaction එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් job එකක්. ඉතින් අපි ඉස්සරහට කරමු මේ කියපු දේවල් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙන්නේ නැතුව ඇති. ඒක මම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම දන්නවා. මොකද අපි database architecture එක පවා තාම කරලා නැති නිසා. එතකොට ඒවා තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ. තව දෙයක් කියන්නම්. දැන් මේ database architecture එක කරගෙන යන ගමන් දැන් ඕක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දැන් අද අපි මුකුත් ගයන්න මේගොල්ලන්ට assignment එකක් දෙනවද? මුකුත් plan කරලා එහෙම තියෙනවද?
එහෙම අද එකේ ඕනේ නැහැ කියලා හිතුණා ආසිරි බට් ඕන අපිට
introduction යන නිසා. ඔව්. මේ ඊට අමතරව දැන් අපි මේක සඳුදම කරමු නේද ගයන්නේ එහෙමනම්. සඳුදා මේ
මට ඕනනම් ආසිරි මේ වගේ ස්ලයිඩ්ස් ටික ෂෙයා කරන්න පුළුවන් වුණානේ අපිට.
ස්ලයිඩ්ස් ටික වන්න ගයන් මම මේක වීඩියෝ එකත් මම ෂෙයා කරනවා මේගොල්ලොත් එක්ක. මේක රෙකෝඩ් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මම සමහර දේවල් කපලා තමයි ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ෂෙයා කරන්නේ. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ඒක පාවිච්චි බලන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි වීඩියෝ එක ෂෙයා කරනයි කියලා සෙෂන්ස් වලට නැවිදින් ඉන්න එපා. මම ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ඇටෙන්ඩන්ස් බලනවා. මෙතන අපේ මේ ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප් එකේ කට්ටියට අමතරව තව කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා. ඒ වුණාට මේ ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප් කට්ටියගේ මම ඇටෙන්ඩන්ස් බලනවා. අනිත් කට්ටියගේ මට ඇටෙන්ඩන්ස් බලන්න විදියක් නැහැ. මට එහෙම අවස්ථාවක් නැහැ. ඒතරම මේ ඊට අමතරව පොඩි දෙයක් මම කියන්නම්. මේ බ්‍රහස්පතින්දාට අපි පොඩි සෙෂන් එකක් දාමු 7ට. ඒක මම කන්ඩක්ට් කරන්න ගයන් මේ ඒක මට පොඩ්ඩක් ඔයගලන්ට මේ පොඩි මේකක් දෙන්න ඕනේ. දැන් මගේ එක්ස්පෙක්ටේෂන් සහ මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන එක. ඒ කියන්නේ මෙතන ඇත්තරම මේ ඒරියාස් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. දැන් database එකක් ගත්තොත් database එකේ දැන් මං නිකමට කියන්නම් ගයන් ගත්තොත් high availability පැත්තෙන් අපි හිටියේ ගයන් ජයසුන්දර ගත්තොත් high availability පැත්තෙන් ඊට පස්සේ security පැත්තෙන් තව කට්ටියකට ඉන්න පුළුවන් ඊට පස්සේ මට මතක නෑ මේ areas ටික ගයන් මොනවද ඒවා high availability security performance tuning
දැන් ඉතින් අර data platform එකේ වෙනම තියෙනවා analytics
ටික්ස් ගත්තකට යන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඒ වගේ එක ඒරියාස් වලට ඔයගලන්ට යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ඔයගොල්ලෝ තමයි මේ යනකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරුම් ගන්න පුළුවන් මොන ඒරියාස් වලටද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට යන්නේ කියලා. ඒක නිසා මේ අපි ඇත්තටම අපේ පැය ඉවරයි. මම හිතන්නේ මේක බ්‍රේක් වුණ නෑ මොන හේතුවක් නිසාද කියන්න මම දන්නේ නෑ. whatever මේ අපි කොහොමත් දැන් පැයක් අපි සෙෂන් එක කරනවා. මම බ්‍රහස්පතින්දා හවස 7ට ඒකත් මේ වෙලාවටම තමයි ඒත් ඉන්ටර්න් කට්ටිය අනිවාර්යෙන්ම සහභාගී වෙන්න. ඉතින් thank you කට්ටියට ආවට. බොහොමත්ම ස්තුතියි ගායන්ට විශේෂයෙන් thank you ගායන් ජයසුන්දරට. මම හිතන්නේ අපේ ලෙක්චරර්ස්ලා ඉන්නේ එච්චරයි නේද අද දෙවිඳ ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් ඔයගලන්ට මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අර ෆෝරම් එක ඇතුලේ ඔයගලන්ට ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ නැත්තම් දැන් මෙතන අපි හිතමුකෝ කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් මේ කියන්නේ මේ ඉන්ටර්න්ෂිප් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකේ නැති එක්කෙනෙක්ට ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා කියලා ඒත් කමන්නේ ඒක පර්සනල් වුණොත් අපිට ප්‍රශ්නේ දාන්න. ඒ අපිට දෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙලාව බලලා අපි සපෝට් එක දෙන්න. හරි එහෙනම් බොහොම ස්තුතියි මම රෙකෝඩින් එක ස්ටොප් කරනවා.